Hello everyone and welcome back to our Python programming course. In the previous video, we learned what Python is, its features, applications, and how to write our first Python program. In today's lesson, we're going to learn one of the most important concepts in programming, variables and data types. These concepts are used in almost every Python program you will ever write. So make sure you understand them well before moving on to the next topic. So let's get started. Let's begin by understanding what a variable is. A variable is simply a name location in the computer's memory that is used to store data. Think of a variable as a container or a box. Just like you can keep books, clothes, or other items inside a box, a variable stores information such as a person's name, age, marks, salary, or any other value. For example, if you want to store a student's name, we can create a variable name called name. If we want to store student's age, we can create another variable called age. Instead of remembering the actual value, we only need to remember the variable name. This makes programming much easier and more organized. You might be wondering why we need variables at all. Imagine writing a program without variables. Every time you wanted to use same values, you would have to type it again and again. Variables solve this problem. They allow us to store information once and use it whenever needed. Another advantage is that if the value changes, we only need to update in one place instead of changing it everywhere in the program. Variable makes our code easier to read, easier to manage, and much more efficient. Now let's see how to create variables in Python. Here we have three examples. The first variable is name, which stores the text Nitin. The second variable is age, which stores the number 19. The third variable is CGPA, which stores the decimal value 8.5. One interesting thing about Python is that we do not need to specify the data type while creating a variable. Python automatically understands whether the value is text, a whole number, or a decimal number. This feature makes Python very simple and beginner friendly. While creating variables, we need to follow some important rules. A variable name should always start with a letter or an underscore. It should never start with a number. Variable name cannot contain spaces. For example, instead of writing student space name, we should write student underscore name. Another important rule is that Python is case sensitive. That means name, capital and small are completely different variables. Finally, we should never use Python keywords such as if, for, or while as variable names because already have a special meaning in Python. Python also allows us to assign values to multiple variables in a single line. For example, x equal to y equal to z equal to 100. Here, all three variables receive the value 100. We can also assign different values to different variables at the same time. For example, name and age equal to Nitin, 90. This makes our code shorter, cleaner, and easier to write. Now let's move on to data types. A data type tells Python what kind of values is stored inside a variable. The four most common data types are integers, float, string, and boolean. Integer stores whole numbers, float stores decimal numbers, string stores text, boolean store either true or false. Understanding data types is important because different data types behave differently in programs. An integer is used to store whole number. Whole number do not contain any decimal values. Example include age, mark, numbers, students, and quantity of items. In our example, age equal to 19 and marks equal to 95. Both are integers because they are completely numbers without decimals. Where float is used to store decimal values. Whenever a number contains a decimal point, Python treats it as a float. For example, height equal to 5.9 and price equal to 99.99. Both of these values are floating point numbers because they contain decimals. A string is used to store text. Strings are always written inside single quotes or double quotes. For example, name equals Nitin and city equals Delhi. Even if the value contains number, if it is written inside quotation mark, Python treats it as string. Strings are commonly used for names, addresses, messages, and other text-based informations. The Boolean data type is very simple. It can store only two values, true or false. Booleans are mainly used when checking conditions. For example, is the student present? Yes or no? Is a number greater than another number? True or false? Boolean values are extremely important when we learn decision makings and loops. Sometimes we may not know what type of data is stored inside a variable. Python provides a type function for this purpose. If we write print type age, Python tells us the variable age is an integer. Similarly, if we check the type of string or a float, Python will display the correct data type. This function is very useful while debugging programs. Until now, we have manually assigned values, but in real program, we often might want to user to enter the information. For that, Python provides the input function. For example, name equal to input and then enter your name. When the program runs, Python waits for the user to type a name. One important thing to remember is that the input function always returns a string. Even if the user types a number like 25, Python treats it as a text unless we convert. Typecasting. Typecasting means converting one data type into another. Suppose the user enters their age. Since input returns a string, we cannot perform mathematical calculations directly. To solve this problem, Python provides functions like int, float, string, boolean. These functions convert data into required type. The casting is very common in Python program, especially when taking user input. Let's look at the few examples. The first example converts the user age into integer using int function. The second example converts the user price into a floating value number using float. The third example converts the number 123 into a string using str. These examples shows how easy it is to convert between different data types in Python. Beginners often make a few common mistakes while working with variables. The first mistake is using an invalid variable name, such as starting it with a number. Another mistake is forgetting quotation marks around strings. Students also sometimes convert data into wrong type, which can cause error during program execution. Always check your variable name, data type, and code carefully before running your program. Thank you everyone for watching today's lesson. I hope you now understand what variables are, why they are used, and the different data types available in Python.